Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Craig. Today's topic, as you can tell from what came across, is we're going to talk about, do Democrats want to put an end to the Second Amendment? Now, first of all, let me just say this. The Firearms Policy Coalition is a nonpartisan organization. Probably of all the groups that you ever hear say that, let me just tell you, is probably the most true when it comes to FPC. While I myself am a card-carrying member of the vast right-wing conspiracy, I can tell you that our organization is made up of everything from liberals to libertarians to I don't know what to conservatives. But what I appreciate about the organization, first and foremost, is it is a group of individuals who all understand the importance of the Second Amendment, civil rights in general, and the importance of the Bill of Rights and our civil rights, but specifically, in this case, the importance of the Second Amendment. So let me just make that clear up front. But, you know, I look at situations and you look at legislation, you know, they always say, judge people not by what they say, but by what they do. And, you know, in this case, you know, one only has to look at a number of the things that members of the Democratic Party have done in order to recognize that they in fact don't value the Second Amendment. In fact, we won't even talk about what they've done because you guys all know the stuff that they've done, the legislation that they've proposed that works directly contrary to the Second Amendment. You know about the fact that not only have they sought to abridge our Second Amendment rights, but they've sought to abridge our right to free speech. They've sought to infringe upon our right to due process. They've sought to infringe upon our right to private property, all to get at the Second Amendment. No doubt. There's no doubt that one can look at that happening. It's happened here in California. It's happening in other states right now, and they've tried to do it in Washington, D.C. But let's take a step back even further. So, you know, they say don't judge them by what they say, but what if you can judge them by what they say? Now, Representative Keith Ellison is one of the leading candidates to run the Democratic Party. And he was on Bill Maher. This was about 2 years ago. He was on Bill Maher. And Bill Maher brought up the fact of, well, hey, why don't we take over? I mean, why? He was so upset because he's like, you know, Democrats are just as pro-gun and pro-Second Amendment as Republicans, or at least some of them are. Democrats like guns too, which, by the way, yes, is true. There are tons of Democrats who like guns, but there are also tons of Democrats who understand the importance of the Second Amendment and that it is a constitutionally enumerated right. So he was all upset and angry about it. And so he says, I wish the Democratic Party would come out against the Second Amendment. And Keith Ellison, now, mind you, this was 2014, so it was 3 years ago. But then Keith Ellison comes out and says, I wish they would. Now, he says in a CNN interview the other day, well, I didn't say that. I'm sorry, you were on national TV and you said that. Was there a clone that was there? Was it a clone that was there in your place? Let me guess. Mind control. Mind control. Someone was controlling your mind, Mr. Ellison. I'm sorry, Representative Ellison, and was controlling your mind and made you say those words. Oh, wait. Bill Maher tricked you. He tricked you into saying those words. No, those words were words that he meant, and they're the words that Democrats dare not utter. They dare not say out loud, I don't believe in constitutional rights, or I believe in all constitutional rights except that one. See, a good friend of mine, a fellow who works with me here at FPC, he always said, you know, he came up with this. He told me one time, he said, you know, here's the problem. He said that Democrats or people who are anti-guns, they see the Second Amendment as a right, but it's not a right. You know, it's kind of like a second-tier right. You know, like, you know, it's not really like, you know, there's the big Division I college football teams, and then there's the, you know, the little Division I college football teams. There's the real professional athletes, and then there's, you know, professional bowlers. You know, that's the thing. That's the way they see the Second Amendment, because it's right, but it's not really a right. And it's one that, even though it says specifically that it shall not be infringed, they're like, well, yeah, they probably really didn't mean that in the way in which it was written. Now, they know that it's a bold-faced lie, but that's what they have to say. Now, mind you, once again, I don't want to throw all Democrats into that same lump. And here in California, we've had a number of Democratic lawmakers in the Senate and the Assembly. Not when I say a number, I'm talking about maybe 4, who actually have scored pretty good or scored well in terms of voting on Second Amendment issues. In fact, during the first 2 years of the Obama administration, the biggest reason why we didn't see major gun restrictions coming out of the federal government had to do with the fact that there were a number of Democrats in the Senate, in particular, and in Congress, who weren't going for it. They weren't gonna be suckered into violating the Second Amendment. Probably more for reasons of they wanted to get reelected. But hey, at least I can say that they at least recognized their constituency and decided they weren't going to go that way. So we can't throw all Democrats in that same lump. But folks, let me tell you something. Those of you who are registered Democrats, let me just be real with you. If you don't think that the direction of the leadership within your party desires to put an end to the Second Amendment, you're deluding yourselves. Whether it's through an outright repeal of the Second Amendment, which they know they don't have the groundswell for, or to do what they're doing now, which is to go all the way around the Second Amendment and do whatever else they can do in order to make sure that, yeah, you have a right to keep and bear arms, but you don't have a right to buy one, so we're going to go after gun stores. You have a right to keep and bear arms, but you don't have a right to ammunition, so we're going to restrict your access to ammunition. You have a right to keep and bear arms, but we're going to make sure that you lose those rights because we're going to deem you to be mentally deficient, or we're going to create all sorts of nonviolent misdemeanor crimes that are going to make it so that you will lose your gun rights. Yeah, see, Billy is over here laughing at me. I'm just gonna throw this out there to you because you guys have probably caught this. I grew up my entire life saying the word misdemeanor, and I know that's wrong, but I've done it for so long, I have to correct myself. So I know it's misdemeanor. Just because I say misdemeanor doesn't mean I don't know it's misdemeanor. So don't y'all go correcting me like Billy always does. He's laughing. He's laughing at me now because he knows it's funny. Anyway, but getting back to the point, the thing is, but that's what it comes down to is that they're doing everything possible to get around the Second Amendment. Here's the thing, and I'll equate it to the First Amendment. Here's the thing. If people going to the extreme, or if people exercising their constitutional right makes you uncomfortable, that's why that right is there. When it comes to free speech is not meant to protect speech that we all agree with. It's meant to protect the speech that people disagree with. It's meant to protect that speech that offends. Because people have a right to be able to say that. I may disagree with it, but I support their right to say it. When it comes to the Second Amendment, yeah, you know what? It may make you uncomfortable that your neighbor owns a firearm. It may make you uncomfortable that someone has a firearm on their person. But if that person has gone through all of the legal steps in order to be able to own that firearm or possess that firearm, they've been vetted by law enforcement at multiple levels. They've had to demonstrate that they've taken training and are proficient with their firearm. If they've gone through all of that, guess what? That individual is not the problem. The fact that you feel uncomfortable is not their problem. It's yours. Anyway, that's it. That's where I'm at. So the Second Amendment, it is. And so y'all just going to have to suck it up, deal with it, and accept it, because that's how it is. Until you get enough people who are willing to repeal the Second Amendment, well, we'll have a whole different conversation then, won't we? Because, oh, by the way, just to be real clear, the Second Amendment is not what gives us a right to own a firearm. The Second Amendment does not give us the right. It is a fundamental human right to be able to defend oneself. That's an inalienable right that not you, not the government. Nobody can take away. So let's see what my good friends there in the Webernets have to say. Oh yeah, Chris, our good friend, all right, so Chris brought up our good friend, Mr. Reggie Jones Sawyer, who basically said, well, you know, two things he said. Number one, he said, well, this is California. We don't follow the Constitution here. He also said that we need to rewrite the Second Amendment because, see, he doesn't believe that we live with a tyrannical government. Now, mind you, last year in California, the legislature basically ignored every single one of its own rules in order to pass through a series of anti-gun legislation. So when you ignore your own laws and rules in order to make decrees and pass laws, that is the very definition of a tyrannical government. So the problem is, the reason why most Democrats don't believe that that there's a tyrannical government is because, well, at least in California, they're a part of it. Now they believe there's a tyrannical government because we have Donald Trump as president. So now they believe in tyrannical governments all of a sudden. Of course, that's also why you've seen an increase in firearm purchases amongst minorities. Go figure. See, all of a sudden, when they see the government as tyrannical, now all of a sudden there's an issue. Let's see. What a lot of people that are anti-gun forget is that the Bill of Rights, and the Second Amendment in particular, is there for all citizens. Just because they're too stupid to exercise them or choose not to is their problem. Yes, exactly. That's the key. You know, for a long time, I didn't exercise my Second Amendment right. I didn't own a firearm for a long time. And then I decided, you know what, this is a right that I needed to exercise. And I started exercising it and working out. But I started to better understand it. And the Second Amendment protects us all. Whether you choose to own a firearm or don't choose to own a firearm, it protects us all. It's that concept and that understanding of two things. Number one, you have a fundamental right and responsibility, quite frankly, to defend yourself and your community. And then number two, that may up to and including a tyrannical government. Because ultimately what a tyrannical government wants to do is the first thing they're going to do before they start taking away all your other rights, they're going to take away your right to be able to defend yourselves. I'm not saying we're that far down that road yet, but I'm just saying I don't want to get there. That's just me. Find me a Democrat who voted against banning 30-round magazines. I will wait. I would honestly have to look it up to see if I could find one. I don't know of one. I can't come up with one off the top of my head, but that is a very good question. Why is it even a question anymore? All the things they promised they would do 20 years ago, they are doing now in places like California. Yes, I completely agree with you. I think it's a question only because keep in mind there's a difference between the average Democratic voter and the average Democratic elected official. I will tell you that the parties in terms of electeds tend to be out here, but really the average voter is probably closer to here in terms of, and in some cases can jump from side to side depending on what the issue is. So I once again, when I say all Democrats, I try to be very specific because I know plenty of Democrats who believe in the Second Amendment. I know plenty of Democrats who donate to FPC or members of FPC who donate to other gun rights organizations that are active and involved. So I can't, they're not the majority, but I do know that they exist. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. Thank you for all of your comments. I look forward to reading some of the rest of them offline. You folks take care and stay free.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.